Today, I have a special guest coming to us from Melbourne, Australia. His name is Tim Diegan. He is a coach who has 15 plus years now in the fitness industry, and he's very passionate about nutritional medicine, weight training, physique enhancement, and achieving optimal health. Tim works with many athletes that include natural bodybuilding, figure, fitness, and sports model champions. You can understand why we get along so well. State level soccer players and A-League youth team players. He also has a passion for helping other personal trainers grow, whether it be in terms of technical knowledge, nutrition, and supplement strategies for optimizing results or coaching them on building better PT businesses. Very, very important starting up. And I don't think a lot of people take that as seriously nowadays, but we'll touch upon that a bit later. So I think without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my friend and a brilliant coach, Tim Diegan.
Thank you, Ria. That is probably the best introduction I've ever had. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and obviously, yeah, it is my 16th year in the industry now.
Yeah.
So, bit of a dinosaur. I'm fortunate to have learned from some amazing coaches and had some great mentors. And yeah, I started, the old way where it's unfortunate that doesn't exist anymore so much, where you kind of do your apprenticeship, like you work on the gym floor and you're watching people's technique, you're taking new members for basic assessments and giving them generic programs and showing them how to use the equipment. You're cleaning toilets, you're cleaning the equipment in the time off, you're really earning your stripes, right?
Yes.
But
what Tim's talking about here is what we used to call the gym instructor. And they were brilliant. They'd clean the machines down. They'd make everyone feel welcome. And it really did add to the environment. But yes, like Tim was saying, it doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist anymore. Actually, after 6 months of doing that, the leisure center I was working at the time moved to an IBO structure where you had to pay rent and run your business. Now, I was always business minded. 15 years old, I was a computer geek, and I taught myself web design and started doing freelance web design from there. At 19, I'd done a diploma of mixed media, and there was a strong business element from that. So when the opportunity came up and it was like, pay rent, do what you want, you can wear your own uniforms, create your own brand, I was like, yep, no problem, all in. So
yes, and a very important note that I missed is you named your business what?
Body Seek.
That's correct. And how did that name come about? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
So how it came about was, obviously I'd started my business through the gym, and it was just Tim Diegan personal training. But then I was at capacity. So I hit capacity twice. First, I hit it as a gym instructor, and it got to the point where people would book 3 weeks in advance to have an assessment with me in a program. And then as my PT business started to build up, I started cutting my gym shifts to the point where I couldn't do gym shifts anymore, and I was just running my PT. But within 18 months, I was at capacity, and I asked the then general manager, I'm like, how else can I grow the business? To be honest, it was at Filex. I got a few wines into him, and I did a handshake agreement that I could pay extra rent and get staff under me, which no one had ever done before. And I held him to his word.
Yep.
So I hired pretty quickly my first 2 coaches, and those 2 are still with me to this day. So that's a big thing.
Huge. It's a huge thing.
Huge. And then, but when that all came about, I was just fortunate that I started training my first ever business coach. So his name was Adrian Jobson, and he was a business building and branding consultant. And he was like, your business card sucks. Like, that is not a brand. He's like, and now you're gonna have staff under you. You cannot have, like, it's just you, because people are gonna think it's you. You need something that could stand the test of time. You need a strong logo. You need strong brand colors. And so that got me wanting to learn more about business and wanting to learn more. So we did a brainstorming session one day, and we wrote all these words on this whiteboard that some were values, some were beliefs, and some were, like what we do differently, right?
Yeah.
And I was always passionate about body transformation. Like I was always a skinny kid in school, and I remember being a late bloomer in sport, doing well in under 16s football. And then by the time under 18s came about, I was just too skinny, too small, and I couldn't get a kick. So I was like, I need to go to the gym, right?
Mhm.
And with that, the Seek website was really big, and there was a lot of things you could do and piggyback on words and brands and websites back in the day.
Yep.
And so it was like, okay, well, you're passionate about body transformation. You're passionate about achieving your own body transformation, which you've done. And then you're passionate about doing that for clients. So what do? They seek body transformation. It's like, so your business name should be Body Seek, because that embodies all that. So it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Mhm.
And then his son was a top level graphic designer. And I'm like, I want something that stands the test of time. I want something so strong that, touch wood down the track. Like you look at Nike, like how long has Nike been around? That brand. And it's solid. That logo is solid, right? Want that. And yeah, my design at the time achieved that. He gave me a color selection, and the red was strong. So my previous was blue and white, and the red was just really stood out. So we did that, and we started with like a white background with red, and then down the track, I was always learning. I had another business coach at 23. I actually remember he was surprised. My first coaching session with him was on my 23rd birthday.
Nice.
So one thing I found with mentors is as I was leveling up, I outgrew them pretty quickly. Right. So that we just kept leveling up that way. And then I started to, hear about Charles Poliquin, and I started reading all his articles on T Nation, and then I started getting all his books. And then fast forward a couple more years, and Ultimate Performance opened up. And that for me it's the premier one-to-one personal training business worldwide. It's the only business that is right now on 4 continents. And I really like what they stood for. I really like how they do things. So I went that way, and it even influenced us to the point I was like, you know what, white and red, it's too weak. I want strong.
Yep.
Right? We get people strong. So I was like, we're going to change the black uniforms and branding. And that, it really stood out. It really, really changed. I think sometimes the psychological things help impact you practically as well.
100%.
So going back to my journey, obviously the leisure center was a good apprenticeship.
Yep.
After 3 years, I was asked to also manage the leisure center. So again, I did a deal with the same general manager that if I'm going to do that, I can have another staff member under me, so 4. But I'm only paying for 3 because opportunity costs. You're costing me money to run your business.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had that place peaking. They had, I think at one point we had 15 personal trainers. The gym had 3,000 members. We'd been extended. We were already applying to the council to get extended again to have another 500 capacity. And in any business, like, leadership is always considered the problem and the solution. Okay. I got that from Bedros Kulin, who's I didn't actually mention in my bio, but he's probably the only person I've been following since 2008.
Right.
And they hired this new general manager who wanted to overhaul everything to be able to justify her wage and justify like she did something.
Yeah.
And she was actually, it was a great lesson in management because she was one of the worst managers I've ever seen in 16 years in the industry. She killed the place. She made it an employee model instead of an IBO model. And can you imagine, like, if the place is making $3,000 a week, for example, on PT rent, and she moves to an employee model, and then I'm like, what happens to my staff? She's like, well, they're not apprentices. they need to work for our business.
Mhm.
So you can still pay rent, but your staff need to work for us. Like, I've trained them up for 3 years, and now you're gonna take the rewards for that? No. So I left. I found a loophole in the contract, got a good lawyer, moved 900 meters down the road. The only problem was we moved from a gym that had 3,000 members to a gym that had 300 members. So I had to really grow. I had to step up as a business owner. I had to learn marketing. I had to learn sales, because I wasn't getting, 10, 20 new members coming in weekly to sign up to the gym and being able to upsell PT, right? So we were there for 4 years, 4.5 years. And then I found out that the studio that we're currently at was a PT studio. I didn't even know. So this facility was literally a 3-minute walk from my parents' house. And funny enough, when I was driving to TAFE every day for my Cert 4, I was seeing these buildings being built. I was like, I would love to have a studio there one day.
Yep.
10 years later, the opportunity came up.
And
We'd outgrown Inspirational, which was the second gym I was at, Inspirational Health and Fitness. We had 3 staff working under me. We were all doing like 20, 30 sessions a week. We were fighting with members to use the equipment. And it was just like, I can't grow here anymore, right? So I found this facility. The owner was only there for 1 year. She'd unexpectedly fallen pregnant, and she wanted to sell quick. We had a good meeting. She liked that I was local. She liked that obviously I was passionate and I'd been around in the industry, and she felt comfortable selling to me.
Yep.
Initially, I kept her business under ours, like obviously we rebranded. We had small group PT classes plus our one-on-one.
Yep.
But, there's a good book called The One Thing. And
it's a great book.
Great book, right? I was like, you know what? These people are not serious about training.
Yeah.
They don't want to, they're like, we don't want PBs. We don't want nutrition. We don't want measurements.
Yeah.
We just want to train. We just want to be fit. We just want to have fun. I was like,
that's great.
It's great, but that doesn't work for, like, I've spent a lot of money on my education, and like, we're here for results. That's, if you want to do that, go to a leisure center, I shouldn't mention them, because their whole crowd, that's all they do. They just go there, they train, they get a workout, they get their sweat, and then they go into the cafe and they have like a muffin and a cappuccino, and then they wonder why they're not losing any weight, but they don't care, they're happy.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I'm like, Charles used to always say, the more you learn, the more you earn, right?
Charles Poliquin is who you're speaking about. He's definitely a root mentor for both of us. I remember, consuming his things, 20 plus years ago or something like that. He's a legend. He's passed now, but he's definitely the godfather of strength training. 100%. I just want to pause there for a second, Tim. I want to take it back a little bit, because I know we're getting into the acquiring of your current personal training studio. And that's around about the time that you and I met. So we're talking like 2016, I think now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that whole period of time that you were speaking about before that, I mean, think about that now. That's a decade almost of grind.
Yeah.
And so what Tim talked about in such a short period of time is 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, people.
And it went by like a blink, but he's proven that he's done the hard yards. He started as the gym instructor, doing all of the tasks, down to toilets, to admin, to, doing a lot of work for free, and gym shifts, and a lot of the things that are necessary. And in all honesty, those things prep you for when you were talking about now you found yourself in a position where you had to do your marketing yourself, you had to do all of these things yourself, and then you were taking on staff. So then you had extra things, and then you took on a personal training manager role, which is probably one of the reasons why I've never taken this role, because I'm like, I don't have time to do that. And so you've taken that on as well. So
I was doing 15 nowadays.
Exactly. Like Tim was burning himself on both ends, because there is a reason why I didn't take a personal training manager role. I did not have time to do that.
I negotiated it well. I was like, I'm only going to do 30 hours a week. And then
Yeah.
I systemize things well. So I'm like, I'm only going to do 25 hours a week now, because I'm going to save you in the budget 5 hours that you don't need to pay me, because the work's done. And then I got it to the point I was successfully managing the gym on 20 hours a week.
Yes, but that 20 hours a week plus 25 to 30 hours of or more.
No, that was 40. There was a point in time. There was a point in time back in the day where it was all about like just smash and dash, get people in, smash them, get them out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like 50. I remember the first week that I did 84 hours.
Oh my God.
Where I had to cover the Sunday, because we used to have a split shift on the Sunday. I think it was, I don't know, like 7 to 12 and 12 to 6 or something like that. And I didn't have any staff to do it. So I'd come off a big week. My Thursday was a 6 a.m. to 8 every week. That's when I started doing 14-hour days. And then I'm like, all right, I'm the boss. No one can do it. I got to do it. So that happened, but I used to wear it as a trophy that I was doing 50 hours a week of PT.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. That's
no.
smarter. Even so, for my staff, like I've got an employee model within my studio, and I've got a tier system. They have to pick their cap, but at their cap, they need to make sure they keep their quality. So for some it might be 30 sessions. For some it might be 35.
Yep.
For some, maybe it's 40, but they can't show signs of burnout. And I'm like, if you're in at 6 a.m. and you're in at 6 p.m., your energy, your focus for your client at 6 a.m. needs to be the same as 6 p.m.
Yep.
Right? Otherwise, don't take the clients.
Exactly right. And I think that's a really important point. You know, you and I can also say it too, like we wear the grind and grit and the long weeks and hours with a badge of honor, but we can also, on the flip side of that, say that we've equally burned ourselves out. 100%. So the importance of a good leader is understanding what we don't want to see happen to other people that we care about, which is why it's respectable what you've put in place for your team, that to ensure that it's quality, not quantity. Like one of my pet peeves is when I hear people say, "Oh, do you know this personal trainer? Oh, he's awesome. He's there 10 hours a day, every day, 6 days a week. He's smashing it." And I was like, this quality of those sessions would be rubbish.
And like you're charging $60 an hour.
Yeah, you see him there 10 hours. When would he have time to write programs? When would he have time to up level? When would he have time to do this? That's not the sign of a quality personal trainer, everyone. Just listen up right there. That someone who's grinding in the gym 10 hours a day is not upskilling, and they're not personalizing what they're delivering to you. Just giving you the heads up right there.
And understand on that as well, like Charles, forgive me if I cuss a bit or get a bit not politically correct, because I'm not politically correct.
Which neither was Charles.
Yeah, well, it's probably the best mentor for that. But he used to talk about, you never want to be a virgin sex therapist, right? And I fucking hate all these people that come out of Cert 4 and think that, I've done Cert 4, I'm going to be an online trainer. I'm like, you haven't even done anything on the floor. You haven't even done a year on the floor. You don't even know progressive overload on the floor. You don't even know how to gauge a client. You don't even know, like, I don't even do percentage-based anymore for, targets for clients. It's more RPE, because they have a shit night of sleep. If they miss a meal for the day or whatever, like, they're not going to be able to maybe reach that same peak as last week, but you can still find the RPE on the day, and you can still ensure there's going to be some progression for the following week. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, there's so much benefit you get on the floor. Like, I'll give you an example. One of my newest staff, been with me since June last year. I spend on average an hour a week with her mentoring. I've given her access to a whole online portal for like in-house education. Yep. And then when, she's getting clients, when we're doing their progressions and their periodization for programming, I'm sitting down with her and I'm saying, so this is where they were Well, this is where they started. This is where they are now. This is where they want to be. And we're mapping it all out. Her development in, what is it, 7 months is like 3 years experience.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And the other, like on another extreme, getting a mentor early. So shout out to Taylor Cherry, who is one of my top mentoring clients. She's only been in the industry around 2.5 years. She started mentoring with me 6 months into the industry. I taught her advanced program design. I taught her periodization. She did our courses through the academy as well. And then obviously I did some business mentoring with her on systems and structure. She's now, like I'm telling you, she's outperforming other PTs that I've mentored or coached that have 10 years experience. She's actually turning over more money. Do you know what I mean? And she's got a system, she's got a structure, she's got a work-life balance because she hired the mentor early. You know?
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Knowledge isn't power. It's only potential power. Because if you go learn or you think you're going to do all this stuff, but then you don't actually do anything with it, that you get what you sow, you know. And so what you're saying is this girl, she was so determined. She's invested time and money into you and into herself, most importantly. And now she's reaping the rewards of that.
So
you know,
much so.
you want to go somewhere faster, you need to speak to someone who's actually doing it, which is also another thing that I think is quite a shame is, you know, is with myself having been in the industry for such a long time and with such a loyal client base, you would think that there would be a lot more people knocking at my door going, hey, would love to learn how you're doing that and how you've got longevity in this business. I'd really like something like that.
The problem, without generalizing, is a lot of the new generation, they want the reward. Like they grew up with iPhones. Do you know what I mean? They grew up with iPads. They're so used to, and I call them like the digitally addicted. Like I love technology, right? And there's so much with technology that makes us be able to enhance our service. But when you can't distinguish from reality, and when you're so used to getting everything now and not having to earn your place, like if you're new in the industry, I'm sorry, you need to eat shit. You need to start at the bottom. You need to work your way up. That's how it fucking is.
Yeah. And they don't want to do it though. They don't want to do it.
Yeah, but then what are they going to do? They're going to work at Coles the rest of their life.
Well, they don't last. That's what happens.
They don't last. That's what I'm saying. But if they put in the work, they get the reward, right?
Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't come easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I see. Look, I know him better than anyone because I'm still in a big box gym. You know, I've got my clinic within a gym and I see the turnover. You know, most of the time before I even learn a trainer's name, they're already gone because they haven't learnt the business side of things, or they just think that it's going to be an easy buck. I just come in and smash someone and then out I go. It's like, no, it's a lot more intricate than that if you actually want to run a business and have people coming back to you to learn from you.
Absolutely.
You know, but so we're bringing it back to, you know, you've done this for 10 years now. And it's fun. I love that manifestation story where because I didn't know that you'd actually looked at that area and thought, I really want a place there. And then you end up acquiring
I thought it was a perfect. I was like, the building, it's close to home. It's in Williamstown. Because back then I was like, I'm going to live in Williamstown all my life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, Williamstown. Beautiful.
It is. But, you know, when you're 25 years old and the houses in Williamstown are $1 million and you've got a $50K deposit and houses in Alternate Meadows are, say, $400K, you're going to get the $400K to start with. But no regrets, you know. I built up, obviously the value's gone up so much in 10 years. I used some equity over time to go on holidays, to, you know, actually help fund part of the buyout of the studio. Like it came at the right time.
Yeah, for sure. So now you've got this space, and even when I met you, like this all happened really quickly because
so fucking quick.
Yes, so quick.
So quick. Honestly, I remember Mark called me in November 2015.
Yeah.
To sell me a Wolfpack, and I was like, okay, the people he's bringing in alone is worth the fee. he set up a one-on-one studio. I want to do that. Maybe if I do Wolfpack for a year, in 2 years' time, I'll open a studio. We done our first course in Feb. That's when I met you. And by April, I'd signed the basically transfer of lease contract and buyout agreement. And by May, I was setting up. And by June 1st, we opened. Like that was crazy.
Yeah.
But then not just that, by the 2018 financial year, with 6 times that turnover from where I was at 215, 216. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what comes with, like rapid growth is, there's a lot of stress.
Absolutely.
There was talking about doing your apprenticeship and doing your time in the gym and working the hours and that. When I opened the facility, it was like day zero again. It's a different experience. It's a different ball game. You have overheads. You have, you got rent. You got electricity. You got the water. You've got work cover. You've got insurances. Like this, I don't even know how many insurances. I think there's 3 different insurances I pay. There's so much, right? And then so that growth was crazy. And then to go from 5 trainers to 10 inside 2 years was also crazy. But many of the business mentors I've had say that running your own business is the best personal development, right? We learned that in Wolfpack. And, like I said, every top business owner, what I notice is they all meditate. They've all gone through shit. They've all started at the bottom and worked up. They've had some life-changing events. But the resilience that they build, and from that, it just helps them keep climbing another level again, and that's what we've done. Like I'm even COVID was a good experience. That's 8 months off, right?
That's
25% of the industry gets cut, and you have a facility. I know a guy who had a facility for 10 years, but he wasn't a good business owner. He relied on his name and the location, and he didn't survive the first lockdown.
Wow.
That shows terrible business systems, and his margins weren't right. And that's what, like, people need to realize. If you want, basically, you either need to be business savvy and want to be a good business owner as a PT, or you want to work for an industry leader.
Yeah.
But there's no middle ground.
No, there really isn't.
Yeah. And be ready for headaches, be ready for stress, be ready for despair, but it's all part of the journey to get the reward.
That's such an important part right there. So the biggest thing, a lot of people think that the pinnacle is, I want to open up my own gym, open up my own studio and run a business. Well, that's not for everyone. And, you can be the most passionate trainer. But Tim and I are so passionate about transformation. That's why we can't just be like we like all the intricate details of everything, but we also appreciate and have taken the time to invest in learning the business. And that's why we're still around. So if you're just super passionate about helping people, then you need to work for someone who you can learn from, and that will help you help others, and not worry about the business side of things, because it's not all the bells and whistles that it's shown to be. If we could save anyone the turmoil of going into a big business thinking that they're going to be rich, and it's like, well, actually,
no, doesn't work like that. And like, not everyone is cut out to be a business owner. There's some people that are great practitioners, great coaches, but they would fail miserably running a business. I had a conversation recently with one client, and they were like, oh, I want to do this and that. I'm like, man, if you do that, you're gonna lose your house. Like, this isn't for you. I just straight up, honesty is the best policy, right?
100%. That you got to deal the tough love to spare them, the heartbreak later. Like, if you value other parts of life rather than business, because business really does take over your life,
Yeah.
In a big way. And once upon a time, like you actually, when we started Wolfpack, I thought I wanted that too. And then I realized actually I really just like honing in on my craft and being me and doing this sort of thing, not worrying about all the other stuff, and seeing you firsthand go through everything you've gone through, which brings me to a very important point. Like, you grew so rapidly, you know. I mean, I was like so impressed every time you're like, yep, we've done this, we're doing this, it's amazing, everything's great, and I'm like, wonderful. But then, you know, and this takes me to a bit of your superhuman story, I think, is overcoming some obstacles, because, you know, the first 10 years there were obstacles, but when you have a bigger business, you have bigger problems. So maybe you want to speak to your superhuman story, Tim. Maybe start with how
So
things kind of go from.
obviously, 2018 hit a big peak. You know, I'd headhunted some industry leaders to work in my business, or people I thought were industry leaders. We'd grown very quickly, but there was problems with the margins. The margins weren't on point for what's needed as a company, right? There was errors with the bank when we moved from the sole trader to a company structure, which hurt us. You know what I mean? There was what else was there? And like, sometimes you hire people that have great resume, but they're not the right people for your business or your culture, right? And then, you know, out of the blue one day, and it was a blessing, I got a new piece of equipment in. I got the glute drive, and I was like, I want that because, you know, we train a lot of bikini girls. It's so much easier to set up to even isolate the glutes and not have to worry about the bar digging into your hips and pain. But the company sent the equipment with no one to assemble it or no one to bring it in, right? It was just a delivery driver. And this guy didn't look like he'd even been in, like, it was like if he walked into our studio, it was the first time he went to the gym. Okay. So myself and two of my coaches went to help him lift the piece of equipment off the trailer, but he dropped it. And I'm like, this is a $6,000 piece of equipment. It's about to hit the floor. I'm not going to let that happen. So I caught it.
Oh no.
And I felt a pop. I felt something go. And I thought it was just a pinched nerve in my stomach. Like, I'd done that before, went back to training. And the next day I'm training a client. I start getting these spasms. I'm like, ooh, I got some pain here. Do you mind picking up the weights off the floor? I just can't lift your weights for the rest of the session. I don't know what's going on. And then I'm spotting this guy doing shoulder press, and my stomach, like, I get right close to him, and stomach hits the chair, and I get a pain. He's like, I think you got a hernia. I'm like, I've never had one before. I don't know what that is. So, and I'll never forget this day, because I'd not long had the Lexus. I think it was, which my reward for the business growing so much and us doing so well was I bought my dream car, which wasn't anything too fancy, but it was a nice Lexus. Beautiful car.
Plenty fancy enough, Tim. Plenty fancy.
Yeah. So I couldn't get into any local physios, chiros, anyone. So I saw a chiro friend, kinesiologist friend in Caulfield. And I'm on Dandenong Road on the freeway, and the car, it runs out of petrol. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I had to walk 1.3 Ks to one way to the petrol station, get some petrol, walk back, fill it up a little bit, drive to the chiro, get diagnosed and get a treatment. And then he was like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, he's like, does your belly button normally look like that? And I looked and was like, oh, actually, no. So in the morning, I was just that frantic of getting into work, and that I didn't even notice, right? So that, for me, I'd gone to the doctor the next day. I'd got a scan, and I was like, normally when you get an ultrasound, they don't tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
But mate, you need to tell me, because I can lift every single day in my work. He's like, you 100% have a hernia. You cannot lift.
Oh, wow.
I was like, shit. So thinking quick, I had two staff. One did a great temp job. He had worked at another more franchise facility. in a team leader role. He'd done sales. I'm like, okay, if I get someone in who can do sales, who can start on the floor, train clients, learn on the job too, I can develop him. That's good. So that happened. Then I had my op, but that op, really set us back in terms of the turnover in the business, because at the time I was still running a lot of sessions and pulling in a good amount of turnover. Right, so building capital for the business. But what that did for me is it made me see the business with different eyes, and it made me see the people that weren't needed to be in the team anymore, that weren't right for the team anymore. And you learn things in leadership too. Like I had one staff member who was an old client of mine, an old mate of mine. I said to him, do the course. When you qualified, when I got a studio, I'll give you a job. He then went further, did university as well. And that sentiment and that, it made me probably hang on to him too long, which didn't do justice for him either. Yeah. He'd gone in a different path. He'd gone a different path to study. He wasn't passionate about transformation. He's great with athletes, great with junior athletes. And, I guess regret, but obviously there's no friendship there anymore. But it was a lesson, Yeah, I'd let him go. And now it's, as a business owner, there's no room for sentiment. You got to make decisions on logic, not emotion. Still learning that, because being an empath, I feel for people. I put myself in their shoes. I want to help people. You get in the industry for helping people, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like staff for staff, and I take a lesson from Nick Mitchell, where his best staff, as his business has grown and as his locations have grown, they've leveled up in the company. So there are people in his company now that were, say, in his first studio, and now they're like area managers. They've traveled the world. The career opportunity and growth, they could never have done that on their own, right? So that's why in my business, I have a Fortier coach system. I have pathways for my staff to grow. And obviously, as they grow, there's a sliding scale for their income as well. But then long term, like, I don't just want one body seek. There's such a lack of leaders in the business. There's such a lack of leading businesses in the industry. Everyone went down the group fitness trend or the random workout bullshit trend. And there's just this big focus on sweat sessions and, burning how many calories you burn in a session. But people just become skinny fat or broken, and it's not personalized, because people doing box jumps and burpees and 100 rep deadlifts when they've got no previous experience training or reason to do that. It's just part of the random workout. So probably got me on a bit of a rant there, but yeah, there's
I
lessons
can jump
in
on
business,
board that rant.
and yeah, so to go back and answer your question, so what I had to do, right, is I had to think, what do I need to do? I need to fire staff. I need to mitigate losses, and and sell my car, and there was a good tax thing for like 20K write-offs and company assets and stuff like that. So I literally downgraded from a Lexus to a Hyundai. Got the logos put all on it. And then as part of that, obviously kept upgrading our margins, kept upgrading things. Because effectively in the past, we were overpaying the staff relevant to what the client was paying, right? And company structure and service-based industry, the rule of thirds is really important. But it's not just the rule of thirds. You still got to factor into account your GST. You still got to factor into account your super. You still got to factor into account work cover. It's literally taken me until probably January this year to get everything pinpoint. Even because when you have the options of, say, direct debit, 4, 3, 2, or 1 session a week, and then you have upfronts for the same, but there's obviously an incentive to pay upfront, then you still got to make sure that you're not losing money on those upfronts, which in the past we were. There's just, like we said before, business is the best personal development you can have, and there's just so much growth. But the other thing too, as a leader, if you're not growing, like they say, if your business isn't growing, it's dying. right? But if you're not growing, you're not going to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just so much to learn.
100%. You just took the words right out of my mouth. Like, it was just like, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it works both ways. Like the business will suffer if you're also suffering. And what Tim was talking about when he was going through that 12-month period of time, because this was, again, it wasn't just a blink. We talk about it in a blink, but it was over a 12-month period of time where he had to let go of staff. He had to decide, all right, I need to sacrifice here so that I can bring back capital into the business. This is what I need to do. And that is an effective leader, because he's willing to put his blood, sweat, and tears into ensuring that his staff still have a place to go, his community continues to grow. It's not just about him. Leaders lead. And I think that that's a wonderful example. It probably doesn't even do it complete justice, because I spoke to you throughout this whole time. Like, it was a very challenging period for you. When we summon our superhuman, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like it happens like it does in the movies. It's like you just have an epiphany and then things happen. It's like those images where you see that person pushing that huge boulder up a hill, and they're really putting all of themselves into it, and it takes ages
100%.
to get to the top. And I'm so proud of how far you've come, Tim. Like, you've just really excelled, and you are a shining example of someone who's done everything that they can to make it work.
Thank you. Nowhere near done yet.
Absolutely not. We're never done. What do you mean? Never.
No, nowhere near. Like, there's still, even, I set targets for myself even now. Like, I've got new staff, right? That, they're relatively new. Like, I've got 2 new staff that haven't been with me for more than 7 months. And just about to hire over the next couple months our actual first graduate from our own Cert 4, right? Nice. So we run a certificate for our academy with Orphic Education. Right now, it's also in partnership with IFA, where the online component is done through IFA. Orphic facilitate a lot of things. We hope, and they provide an amazing lecturer right now. And then we run, like, we host it. All the practicals are done with us. I chip in on, I haven't on this intake, but most intakes, like, I'd give a lecture on business, and we give work experience, like shadowing, to the students. Do you know what I mean? With a smaller team, it's harder to do that now, but as well, if you have a big group of students and 50% of them haven't done the online component, I'm not giving them work experience. I'm not giving them shadowing, right? Whereas right now, we had one prospect who, he looks the part, he's attentive, he turned up to every single practical. I think he was the only one. And he's keen and he's ready to learn, and he doesn't want to run his own business. He wants to be a great trainer. He wants to learn and grow. And, so I interviewed him the other day, and I was like, congrats, mate. Like, if you like what I've had to say, you're going to be our first graduate that's gone from our Cert 4 directly into our business. And so that's April.
Awesome.
He should be starting.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. So for the business owners out there and you're hiring staff, don't wait until you're booked out and struggling to fill spots to hire staff. Always prospect for new staff. You want to make sure you've always got the right people on the bus, and be aware that maybe sometimes people might have been right, but then they're no longer right for the business and they drop off and someone else has to jump on. It's a really good book. I actually got the audiobook From Good to Great, and that's one of the biggest lessons I learned from that, about people. And sometimes you might have the right people in the business, but they're in the wrong position. So you might, instead of kicking them off the bus, you might just move them to a position that suits their strengths more. And that's a leadership. That's an art of leadership.
Yeah. Definitely. Awesome. See, it's really it really is a journey. And I think it's important to highlight that, not to just be deterred by the challenges that come along the way, because for every challenge, or for every quote failure that, you know, we feel like, oh, I failed, or this is too hard. But life is full of challenges, and we're constantly being pushed so that we grow.
100%.
Change is imminent, and the more you fight it and the more you resist it, the more it's going to happen anyway. And so you just need to learn to appreciate what life is trying to teach you when these things and these obstacles come in the way. And it's like, what's the lesson here? What is this trying to show me that I need to do next?
Absolutely. There needs to be a level of resilience to think like that as well, because there's a bunch of snowflakes out there that the first sign of despair, they're just going to throw it all in, you know, it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's probably something I find hard to understand, because I really don't feel like I've ever quit anything.
No.
I've always fought really hard for everything, even if it didn't feel right, you know, I still fought for it so that I could say I gave it my all. I think people quit a little bit too easy nowadays.
Absolutely. There's that generation I was speaking about. It's like, got to develop some resilience. You got to learn to start from the ground up. You got to learn to work hard. And, you know, doing an 8-hour day is not hard work. Like, don't piss on man about that. That's a standard day. Try doing 16-hour days. Try doing 90-hour weeks. You know, that it's not a badge of honor. It's not what I wanted to do. Like, I think the first year I opened the studio, maybe the first year I put on 10 kilos, right? Because what was I doing? I was so stressed and we were growing so quick. My biggest priority was making sure the business is running and growing enough that my staff can put food on the table. That was number one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that was tough to see, you know, like watching you as well. I'm like, are you taking care of yourself, Tim? You're like,
No.
not really.
How many coffees? I think at one point I was 8 long blacks a day.
Yeah.
No, it was bad. It was really bad. Like I said, did what I had to do. I still can't believe that I used to work in the morning, come to class, work in the evening, go home, do it all again. Like, just wouldn't do that again. You know, but you learn, you know.
I think I actually don't mind looking back on those experiences, because it just goes to show what is possible. It doesn't mean that that's something that we need to do all the time, but like those times where we really push the envelope, and then we just go, actually, we can do a lot more than we think.
That's it. Another thing too with that is there's always going to be peaks and troughs in your business, right? We had, like, for example, November, December, we had a record amount of leads for those 2 months, right? And January wasn't too bad too. February was terrible. February was like, but we realized that obviously snap lockdown affects things a little bit. Premier's a moron, and anyone that supports him is too. Sorry. But so I hired a new web developer, and he's like, your search engine optimization is not set up right. You're only getting people that search for you directly, or like leads from social media. You are not getting like randoms, locals, this, that.
Reach.
You know, so we're fixing that, and straight away, inquiries is like 2 or 3 a day. You know what I mean? So I think we read that wave of hype of, you know, we've got a growing brand, we've got a good reputation in the industry, where local people know about us, people are like, okay, I want to go in. Like, we had in that 2 months a record number of new signups from Newport alone, which is effectively a suburb. It used to be called Williamstown North, and now I don't know, Google says we're in Newport, so that's it. Whereas now it's like, okay, we really want to grow. We want to make sure we're at the top of Google for our local searches, but people don't mind traveling to us. Like, when you have results, I once had a comp prep client that was coming from Horsham every second week. That's a long freaking drive, right? Yeah, you know, I had clients from Mansfield at one point, you know,
Mhm.
and even now I still have clients on a weekly basis that drive an hour to see me,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and it's because I give results and I give value. Okay. So now it's about, with our growth now, we want to capitalize on the local area. No one in our local area does one-on-one. No one does personalized nutrition coaching. There's so many small group places, and honestly, we're not here for anybody and everybody. And
Sure.
that's a thing to the audience. Like, you don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Maybe when you're new in the industry, you want to learn a little bit about everything, but then you want to hone in on, say, your one thing, or where you really want to help people, where you think suits best. So I'm not even, like, in my bio we mentioned the athletes that I'd coach, like physique competitors, love coaching. My three main clientele for me personally right now is, you know, high-end business owners, executives, other personal trainers, and competitors.
Mhm.
I don't even want to, like, I worked for free for 6 months for a state level soccer club just to get my name in the industry. And because false promises, like, I thought I was going to get paid after the preseason, but I didn't.
Mm.
And even there, I was driving 45 minutes one way, 3 times a week to be there. But now I have no passion to work with um, athletes, like sport. You know,
Please.
it's
Yeah.
just the yeah, I just not interested. Like, maybe if a young up and coming soccer player wants to come through, and you know he needs to get a little bit leaner and get a little bit stronger, cool. But
Yeah.
I'd never ever set foot on a pitch again and coach a team or help with any of that. And just, they don't have the money. Half the time they're not serious enough, and just the style of training, the things needed, not interested. I
Yeah.
really love where Kassem Hansen and One Education are going, and One
Mhm.
Training.
Mhm.
And I love, like, they've brought back the kind of personal training, and it's
Mhm.
very individualized. And you know, I just love doing that. And that, those three markets I relate to best right now. And I feel that with my 16 years experience, they're the people I can help best. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Of
you
course.
gotta, you know, you find your niche, you find your people that you feel most comfortable working with, but it might change over time too. But as long as you're always there,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. For sure. When you've been doing this for as long as we have, like we have such specialized skills, it's not just, you know, when if I say to people, like, if they come in to see me and they just want to get smashed, like, I'm not the trainer for you.
No,
You know, any I would say idiot, but anyone can like go, you know,
it's your
smash
podcast. You can swear.
someone.
Come on.
You know, it's
Yeah,
like that's easy. It's child's play. Like, I
absolutely.
people come to me because they want the specialization of what I can provide and all of the skills that we've acquired over the years. We can fine tune and take people to the next level, and that's why we work with such professionals and people that are willing to drive an hour away or even travel
Mm.
to come see us, because they're as driven as we are. You know, you sort of attract your tribe based on how driven you are as a person as well.
But isn't that funny, right? Years ago, it used to be about, let's just pay the bills. Let's just train anybody and everybody.
Mm.
And let's just, if we're doing a 30, 40 hour cap, that's it. It's fine. Now, if I have, like, and obviously full transparency, there was a point in time where I just wanted to be the CEO, build the team, grow the business and that. Man, when you have 8 months off with COVID, I'm back on the floor at least for the, like, probably for the remainder of this year, you know, because I want to keep the sword sharp. I want to
Mm.
teach my team. I'm the head coach now. I don't have head coaches anymore. Um, and I think by having just capped hours, like, say I only see 20 hours
Mhm.
of clients over 6 days, right? My passion's kind of strengthened because I can keep my quality. I can give value and great results to really highly driven people. But you know what? The people that fuck around, the people that don't want to do the nutrition, the people that aren't compliant, I'm like, why are you paying my rate if you and
Mhm.
working with me if you're doing this? Like, honestly, go do F45. Go do something that, like, just get out of here. Just go to another coach. Like, I don't want to work with you. You
Mm.
know? And then even things change too. Like, talking about earning your stripes. You know, years ago, I used to give free time. If I had a top athlete, I would sponsor him because obviously it's business growth, right?
Yeah.
It's recognition for the business. Now, my time is so valuable. I do not give free time. I do not have free time.
Mhm.
You know, even my social circle is smaller than ever
Yeah.
because I honestly believe that, you know, you are the average of top 5 people you hang around.
Right.
I have time to work in my business, time to work on my business, time to see my family, and then time to see those that are close in my circle. Any
Yeah.
other free time is there for consultations or mentoring.
Mhm.
And I don't want to waste time. Like imagine having a coffee with an acquaintance and they're no longer, or say like an old friend, that's no longer ever going to be a close friend. You just wasted an hour of your time.
Yeah.
And you know, if it took you half an hour to get there, an hour to have coffee with them, half an hour back, you wasted 2 hours of your time. So you lose money, right?
Mhm.
And you know, you don't want to do that. Like it sounds very, very capitalist, but I don't have a problem with that. Like that's how you need to think if you want to be a business. If you want to be something for everybody and charge low rates, like it's, you know, our sort of level of business and premium service, one-to-one, it doesn't work.
No, that's what I was saying before. Like, go work for someone, take it easy. Like, just put in your hours and then go chill out and do whatever you want to do with the rest of your time. But you and I have both learned valuable lessons in terms of how much we appreciate our time. Our time is our biggest asset, I believe, and
100%.
I don't want to, you know, I don't want to sit around wasting it. Like, and I say that loosely because time you enjoy wasting is not wasted. I
I
don't
can do that.
we spoke about, you know, we do consults and things like that. I don't mind giving my, you know, some people that people often want to pay me for consultations, you know, like we're just meeting each other. But the thing is, I have to meet the people that I work with because
100%.
we're about to enter into a you know, a relationship of sorts, and so we need
Mm,
to make sure that we gel, that we trust each other, you trust me, and that we understand the process. So it's important that we meet those. So I don't think that's a waste of time because, you know, at the same time we do love helping and meeting people, and
so
if it's not going to be a good fit, we're also happy to say that.
the
It's
only thing I'll add to that is what I do
Mhm,
is I'll have an initial chat over the phone. Like
mhm,
I pre-screen all my sales
mhm,
and I give them a ballpark figure of what the minimum they'd pay to work with my business
mhm.
and what the maximum, or say even I give them a ballpark on 2 sessions a week, say with myself, as opposed to a level 1 coach.
Yep.
Because if they right there and then don't see the value, I'm not going to waste my time sitting down with them for an hour, 45 minutes going through a consult,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly right. I think people understand that now. Like, if you want to work with trainers like us, or coaches like us, should I say, it's not going to be like the $60 an hour pop, you know, thing that you just go to a trainer and they're like, yeah, I'll smash you in my backyard or outside. Let's just do
Yeah.
like it's that. I think people come. I don't see time wasters really like that. Like,
No, no.
it doesn't happen for us anymore. But having said that, we have been doing this a long time. So I don't want to like I don't want to set people up with that expectation that, you know, they're going to get all the right people come to them. It doesn't quite work that way. But
No, that's right. But you see, if they have the right mentors and they have the right systems in place, they can still,
mhm,
you know, screen their clients so they can maximize their time.
yeah.
You know?
So to highlight, I guess, where you are now. So I mean, you've gone through a lot of personal growth, and going through that period of time where you had a lot of reflection time because you were in recovery mode, it made you reevaluate, you know, where you want to sit in your business. And then going through again COVID, you know, and lockdowns again made you reevaluate, well, actually I do want to still be the practitioner. I still want to be on the gym floor doing things and sharpening my sword. um that in itself has reignited, I guess, that initial passion, would you say, that you know
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just like in lockdown, I did do a fair bit of stuff with N1. Like I did their free course. I got their programming membership. I'm taking a logical mentality now. Like I'd love to do all their courses, but I know that right now like I don't have time for something of that magnitude of study. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mean like I need to work on the business. Like I'm creating content, we're creating ebooks, we're creating like a digital leg of the business. Do you know what I mean? There's so much that is a better use of my time right now. But absolutely, for the people that I work with, I love working with them. I love, I got a guy who owns 2 restaurants, and he's always loved training. He's trained with previous coaches that didn't really get him. He's done powerlifting, which just wasn't for him. He just wants to move well and look good and feel good. He wants like a basic level of hypertrophy training. He wants to get a bit of a pump. He wants to get strong, but he doesn't want to have sore joints and niggles and shit like that. And it's not all about strength. It's all like it's a balanced sort of holistic view that he wants, and I'm giving him that. And he's like, I've worked with, I mean, he worked with my previous head coaches. He's worked with other local coaches. He goes, I'm enjoying my training more with you than I have in the last 10 years. And for him, when COVID hit, and you have a restaurant in the CBD, it's brutal. Like one of his restaurants has been shut since March, the one in Docklands, right? And there's just been so many hits here. Sometimes the hour you're spending with people is the best hour of their day. And the healing you give them, the stress release you give them, the satisfaction, I can even see his demeanor like change from pre-session to post-session, So that's people need to realize the power of what we can do for people. And that's also reignited because I'm working with a higher level of client than I ever have. I'm also charging a higher rate than I ever have. But because of that, I'm giving value. Whenever you do contra deals, like it always takes forever. Like I won't do contra because if I do, I'm going to give a low level service. I'll rock up late. I'll send a program late. They're not paying me enough to get my highest level of service. Yeah. People are paying my current rates. I'm in 10 minutes early. I'm making them a coffee. I'm giving them a water. I'm offering a post-workout shake if they want. Like I'm giving absolutely everything in the hour that I have with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, because I'm valuing my time, but they're valuing my time. So if I feel valued, I'm going to give more to the client, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's how it needs to be.
Yeah. This is exactly why I love, I've still been in the trenches this entire time. That's why I'm so passionate about that holistic experience. It's when people like coaches like you and I have invested more than we've probably spent on our houses, on on our education.
Probably if what I've spent on if you were to take my mortgage payments and what I spent on education, I would have paid off my house for its current value, not the 400K that I paid for it.
All right. There you go. So just to give you all some hindsight, we've invested a lot of money into our education. So we didn't just like appear like this on the other side of the rainbow.
For me, it's easy, 200K, easy.
Yeah.
And if you're not investing 10% of your turnover a year into education, you're not going to be at the top.
That's right. We learned that from Charles Colquhoun for sure. And we practiced that. And that's why we are so great at what we do. That hour or that half, and like the time that you spend with us surpasses the time you spend with an inexperienced person. It just depends what you want. You want a high level of service, you go to a high level coach,
right.
And someone who's going to deliver you the service and the value that you need. So
absolutely, value your time, value your worth, and if you want the best, you got to pay for the best. That's how it works.
100%, and we've done that a million times over. So
they got to think of it as an investment, not as a cost, not as an expense.
Yeah, well, that's probably my biggest cost, I guess, is spending money on learning, and I love it. I wouldn't have it.
Look where you're at now. Look at your growth in the last 2 years, right? It's crazy. You've really, like I said to you before, your star is really shining now, and you just hit a point where there's only going to be growth. You've just got to decide which way you want to go.
I'm just going to keep moving forward. That's you're not progressing, you're regressing. So
100%.
That's where I'm going.
100%.
So thank you, Tim. And speaking of time, I do want to be honor our time because it is precious.
Okay.
And I want to ask you a final question, which
Yes.
is, what does summoning your superhuman mean to you?
It means leveling up, and it means doing what's needed for the greater good. There's times, and if I relate it back to my coaching, there's times where maybe I stayed back for a client. Maybe, I just helped them achieve something amazing, and what it did for them and how it changed their life. Like, that's a superpower. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way I've read clients, and the way I've had good intuition for what they need, and the way I've helped them. Like, it's not just about the sets and reps and what you do in the gym, right? It's how that changes them. So a physical transformation is one thing, but when you create an emotional transformation, when you create that person just got stronger with mind, body, and spirit, and their whole life trajectory just elevated because of the time you spent with them, that for me, that's our superpower.
100%. I just got like goosebumps when you said that, because I really resonate with what you just said just then. 100%. Yeah. That's why we do this.
That's true.
Change people's lives, and that's the biggest payment of it all. I think that summarizes it beautifully. Thank you, Tim.
You're most welcome. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm glad to be one of the first. Absolutely. And anytime.
Well, I likely have you on. I think you and I need to speak, get nerdy on comp prep, and
we might need to do a series. Like, we could do a comp prep series. We can do a prepping to prep, training the female. We can talk about PT business.
Oh, we can talk about everything.
There's so much,
Yeah, definitely. There'll be some collaboration in the future.
100%.
Stay tuned, people. But for now, we've got people to help. So
that's right.
Till next time, everyone.
Thank you heaps, Ria.